On Friday, the Labor Department released the May employment report. The economy added a better than expected 272,000 jobs, about 100,000 more than the previous month. The unemployment rate edged up to 4%. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us this morning to make sense of it all. Jill, we thought it was going to be fewer jobs. It was about 100,000 jobs more. Why the discrepancy? And then what were the sectors that really held strong?
So first of all, the analysts are looking at all the different data points leading up to this moment, right? And so there were a lot of surveys that showed employers saying we're not going to hire as much. We know that job openings have actually declined to the lowest level in more than 3 years. Fewer people are quitting, and that's a sign of a labor market slowdown. There's also been evidence that consumers aren't spending quite as much and economic growth is pulling back a little bit. That said, we are averaging 250,000 jobs almost every single month this year. It's about the same as last year. The sectors that are leading the way, at least in this report, healthcare, which has been a huge component of growth over the last 18 months. The government added jobs. That was a little bit surprising. Leisure and hospitality has really come back strong, obviously, ahead of the summer season. Professional and business services, widespread hiring. The reports of the demise of the labor market have certainly been overstated.
Interest rates are still really high, making it hard for people to buy homes who want to. That's probably not going to change until at least September?
Yes, I think that we have a Federal Reserve meeting that's coming up next week. They might as well hold a sign up like "Gone fishing, we're taking the summer off." Yeah. You know, we'll have this meeting, there'll be a July meeting. But I think it's very hard for Federal Reserve officials to square a drop in interest rates if we see the strength of the labor market and that the inflation rate is still high. There was one piece of this report that was actually pretty good for workers, and that is, besides the jobs being created, we saw wages up. Wages were up by 4.1% from a year ago. Why is that important? The inflation rate right now is at about 3.4% from a year ago. So when you look at that, 4.1, 3.4, you say, hey, wait, this is great news. I've got more money in my pocket. The Federal Reserve does not like this. The reason is, when we get wage increases, what we tend to do is we spend them. We spend those wage increases, and that can contribute to inflation. That's why the Fed's sort of rooting for a slowdown in the job market, not a death of the job market.
Yeah, well, you know, after the jobs report announcement, stocks sold off. What does that potentially mean in terms of possible cut?
So the idea here is that investors are like, oh, no, we thought that maybe we were going to see a change. No. Now we know rates are probably not going to move. Still, this year, the S&P 500 broad U.S. index is up by more than 12%. Investors ignore the day-to-day, look to the long term. Your retirement's going just well.
I'm
sorry, but it
no,
works.
it does. It's right. It's good advice.
You say the same thing every time, but it's the
right advice. I meant that in a
proper
good way.
advice. Yes.
Jill, thank you.
Sure.
We appreciate it.